Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory is due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who all learned this truth from and will do well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000, the rest of the elect, until you I say shalom. Coming to you back with another lesson through the Spirit. I'm entitled this one, Christmas is not supposed to be celebrated, Jake, because really the only ones who are sinning when celebrating Christmas and all these different pagan holidays are the Israelites, because only the Israelites have been given the law, statutes, commandments. So really all these other heathen nations, these so-called white people, these so-called Chinese, these so-called Arabians, whatever race it may be, it don't really matter if they celebrate Christmas because they're heathens. But to our people, the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, celebrating these holidays, a lot of them think that it's no harm being done, that, it's no big deal. But really, when you're celebrating Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's Eve, and all these different holidays, ultimately it is spiritual order, because now you're not doing what Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai commanded us to do, which was to stay away from these heathenistic ways, these heathenistic gods and idols, celebrating Christmas. And really, Christmas goes back to Saturnalia, but yet you have all this information out here, but you still have our people, the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, celebrating these things, knowing damn well that they're pagan. A lot of them say it's because of kids. We're doing it because of kids. It's not about what its origins is. It's all about the family and giving gifts. Knowing damn well when you're celebrating these holidays and worshiping these other gods and idols, you're going the hell off. You're not following after what Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai told us to do. And that's literally the first commandment. You shall have no other gods before me. What are our people doing? Majority of our people doing? They're about to get ready to celebrate Christmas, going way the hell off when you have all this information out here. So I'm gonna get into this quick, breakdown of Saturnalia, which really that's what Christmas goes back to. But it even goes back further than that. During the time of Nimrod. But this says Saturnalia was an ancient Roman festival held in mid-December, usually December 17th till the 23rd, to honor Saturn, the god of agriculture, wealth, and time. It says, here's a clear breakdown. What was it about? Saturnalia celebrated the end of the harvest and a hope for prosperity in the coming year. It was one of the most popular and joyful Roman festivals. And what are we in today? In the revived Roman Empire. And what's the number one holiday that these Americans, these Babylonians look forward to? Christmas. It's the same thing coming back today, because there's no new thing under the sun. That's why all these people, the main holiday they always look forward to is Christmas. It says key features: role reversal. Social rules were reversed or relaxed. Enslaved people were given time off, could speak freely, and were sometimes served by their masters. And you see that today. Now you get, the whole week off, or some people might just get a couple days off. You got the bosses giving out bonuses and gift cards, and to telling you how much they appreciate you for your work. They're having Christmas dinners and all this bullshit. This is the second point. It says feasting and parties, big meals, drinking, and public celebrations were common. And what's about to happen on the 25th? All these parades, people getting drunk. New Year's Eve, people, blacking out in downtown in every major city. It says gift giving, the next point. People exchange small gifts like candles or figurines. And what are about the people do? What are people about to do? Open up the Christmas presents under the tree. It says no school or work. Literally. Right now, majority of public schools, universities, colleges, they're all on quote unquote Christmas break, winter break. It says courts and schools closed. And what did Donald Trump just pass? The 24th and the 26th. Now they're a federal holiday that all these federal workers have off. It says, famous phrase, people greeted each other with low Saturnalia, basically saying happy Saturnalia. What do people say today? Merry Christmas, Happy Christmas. It says some Saturnalia traditions like gift giving, decorations, candles, and winter celebrations likely influenced later winter holidays, including aspects of Christmas. It says, in short, Saturnalia was a time of fun, freedom, and breaking social rules, a brief pause from normal Roman life to celebrate abundance and equality. That's our people, majority of our people, they're getting ready to celebrate Saturnalia. A lot of them know it too, but they willfully remain ignorant. But Yahweh Bashim Shah is not going to let that go unpunished, because our people may look at it as harmless, like, oh, it's no big deal. We're celebrating JC's birthday. A lot of them love to say, especially the Northern Kingdom tribe, they have the baby JC, set up, ready to worship it and bow down to it. This is Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 4. It says, turn ye not unto idols, nor make to yourselves molten gods. I am the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, your power. And what is the main thing our people do is put up the Christmas tree, deck it out. A lot of them go all out and you get the biggest Christmas tree. They get a Christmas tree every new year. They deck it with all these ornaments. They put thousands of dollars worth of gifts under the tree and bow down to it. But yet our people look at it as harmless, like it's no big deal. But really, you breaking the first commandment. You serving these other gods and these other idols. Instead of worshiping Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, they're worshiping, these other gods. Saturn, JC, Nimrod. This is Proverbs 14 and verse 15. It says, the simple believeth every word, but the prudent man looketh well to his going. And our people is simple as all hell. They've been indoctrinated, since they were kids, by our grandparents, parents. It's a tradition. We celebrate every 25th, to open up gifts and celebrate the holiday season because really, we've been indoctrinated. But yet, our people have all this information out there. A lot of our parents and friends that we had in the world, we broke down the origins of Christmas. But what do? They shunned it off. They're still celebrating. But Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is not going to, wink at it, because a lot of our people, they're not going to have an excuse in that day. When all hell breaks loose, when now the doors of mercy get shut, our people are going to want to get right. They're like, okay, I'm going to stop celebrating that stuff, but it's going to be too late. Because they believe, a lot of our people still believe in Santa Claus, letting you know how bugged out they are. This is Jeremiah chapter 10 and verse 1. Hear ye the word which the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushua speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Verse 2, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, learn not the ways of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. It says, learn not the ways of the heathen. What are our people have done, in this captivity? But even us, when we were in the world before we came into this truth, we were out here celebrating all these heathenistic ways. Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, Valentine's Day, 4th of July, doing all these heathenistic customs. But yet, our people, a lot of them, they heard the truth. They heard about their true heritage. But what are they doing? They're still following after these heathenistic ways. Because even back then, during the time when we had the tools to keep the law, statutes, commandments, our people were still whoring after these other gods, worshiping their idols, because they could do whatever they wanted. they could fulfill the lust of the flesh. And it's that same spirit back today, because our people have been so accustomed to being in Babylon the Great that they don't want to leave Babylon the Great. They don't want to leave America behind. They don't want to leave Christmas behind. They don't want to leave Thanksgiving behind, because they think that that's as good as it gets. You know, if you was to take Christmas and Thanksgiving and all these holidays away from these Americans, these Babylonians, these people would bug the hell out. Verse 3, for the customs of the people are vain, for one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe, going into the Christmas tree. Verse 4, they deck it with silver and with gold. They fashion it with nails and with hammers, that it move not. So, man, here you got these Christians, these bugged out ass Christians, getting ready to celebrate Christmas, talking about it's JC's birthday. You know, we're celebrating because JC's birthday is on the 25th. You know, we put up the Christmas tree here. They're putting up a Christmas tree inside the church. Bugged out as all hell when the scriptures are plainly and clearly cutting, that Christmas and the Christmas tree and the presents. And this is why our people are going to get put to death, majority of our people, because the information is out here, but yet they don't want to repent. They don't want to leave the old ways of the world behind, because they're just so infatuated with it. This is Amos chapter 5 verse 21, 5 and 21. I despise your feast days, and I will not smell in your solemn assemblies. And this is Yahweh Bashmel Shai saying, I hate your feast days, and these are the holy days of Israel. The Passover, the Feast of Tabernacles, the Feast of Dedication, and all the holy days that Israel has. But yet Yahweh Bashmel Shai is saying he hates them because they were keeping them unsincerely. They weren't keeping them in being sincere. So how much more these pagan holy days, these so-called holy days, these folly days, Thanksgiving, Christmas. If Yahweh Bashmel Shai was, hating what Jake was doing, so-called keeping the holy days of Israel, how much more these pagan holidays that have to do nothing with the scriptures? Verse 22, though you offer me burnt offerings and your meat offerings, I will not accept them. Neither will I regard the peace offering of your fat beast. And what are our people getting ready to cook? Ham, pork, and all these abominable foods. And if Yahweh Bashmel Shai didn't want those animals that were actually supposed to be sacrificed back then, how much more all these unclean animals that Jake is ready to cook and roast? Verse 23, take thou away from me the noise of thy songs, for I will not hear the melody of thy vows. All these Christmas carols, Jake, bugging the hell out, at the choir. This is Hosea chapter 4 and verse 6, because this is what's about to happen to our people. Because a lot of them know better, but they don't do no better. It says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy power, I will also forget thy children. So this is why our people are going to get put to death. 2/3 of our people are going to get put to death because they refuse to leave this world behind. They refuse to acknowledge who their true power is, Yahweh Bashmel Shai. They keep whoring after these other gods and idols. They keep celebrating Christmas, thinking it's a light thing. But really, they don't consider how big, of a deal it is that they're worshiping these other gods and idols. They look at it as a small thing. Oh, it's no big deal. God still loves me. But okay, Yahweh Bashmel Shai is about to show these 2/3 how much he really loves them by putting them to death. For still worshiping these pagan holidays when you have all this information out here. But that's pretty much the point. I pray this is edifying to the elect. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory that's due to Yahweh Bashmel Shai Ba'ashem Rakakudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who are in this truth from Elder Ruel. Peace and salutations to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect. Unto you I say shalom.